time, and it will be uploaded after the session to Council's webpage. We are also taking a copy of the chat again, and actually the chat is really important and very useful because things that might occur to you along the way, or things that can be answered offline, or things we run out of time for, can be dealt with there. And I think actually on reflection, Stephen, for this particular meeting, probably more interaction has happened before the meeting and will happen after the meeting than in the session itself, which has actually been quite useful. And I do want to thank everyone who's contributed through that, and Gabrielle, yourself, for coordinating a very comprehensive response to what's already been put up, and some thoughts to guide the discussion for today. So with that, and without further ado, I'll hand over to Ian for some other opening remarks he might wish to make, and then into Stephen's conversation. But yeah, once again, do please use the chat function, and we'll see how we go for time and to what extent we've got an opportunity for a general sort of free-for-all, but we'll see how we go on time for that. But do use the chat in the meanwhile. Ian.
Very good, thank you, and welcome everyone. I had three main things, and one of them's already been said, but firstly, thanks Stephen for circulating the depth of information for everyone to get a handle on. I think that's really important. We've got a information-hungry stakeholder group, so that's great stuff, and great to see the second piece is great to see the FAQ live document. I'll kind of quick flick through that, and just good to see everything kind of coming in and all those questions being dealt to. And then importantly, finally, thank you for Gabrielle for convening and pulling all that dialogue together and driving that. So it's all pretty good stuff. So yeah, it's really encouraging to see it all. So looking forward to the meeting today. Yeah, over to you, Stephen.
Okay, I will share my screen. Does everyone see the first page of the PowerPoint? Thumbs up? Oh, that's cool. Yep, I did check in with Councillor Beach before, and he said, yep, keep on point, just motor through this, and definitely have points for questions. So there's sort of two parts to this one. So I'll just get into it. I guess the first part of it was just digging into a bit of the feedback presented, and just covering a couple of points, just to make sure. It was really important for the project team to make sure that the sheets have we got it right. So I think that we've got some clearer steering on these sheets distributed now. So I'm just going to go over the first one, which was the reuse for farming enhanced present salt within these papers, and it was more, I mean, for cropping is the farming component I'm talking about. So just general feedback, I'll just read it out. My interest is about utilising water and nutrients for growing useful plants. And that was a voice heard by many. So in listening to that, I just spitballed a few things with Gabrielle and how to edit it to working with the community's views. So in those sheets, it did have a assessment criteria, and there are and it just gives a quick line of what we're looking for when we do these rankings. And under this social and community, you'll get a chance to go back. It could be enhanced by a line that talks more about food gathering, but also ability for food opportunities, etc. I'm not sure what this could be. We're talking winter oats or grains or hemp. Keep talking about it. I don't know, but at least putting a line there so it's recognised. I think that was something that would improve this. Also, in the opportunities and benefits, need to talk to the project team and talk about and expand on the opportunity and recovery, just to make it proud within it that we have recognised the desire for reuse for food production. So I've done that, and I'm going to do that. Next step is as an action on us to revise it in alignment with that, and it is in the principles of the project objectives, which the project team is going to. It's really important. We're going to go back and back and back to these project objectives and make sure, and it has the final best practical option has to meet these objectives. The another part to it as well, just spitballing with Gabriel, is what would be a seed to help this reuse discussion, and it's just getting some expert opinion on how to like, what do you need? Like, I'm not a farmer, I don't have these experience, but there is skills out there that can help with that. Talking to our PDP consultant, they've done something similar with Palmerston North consenting, which is just talking about the opportunities for these things, carbon credits for pine forests, and what's needed for things like hydroponics, etc. It would be with the business of water care. We make water and we treat wastewater and dispose of it, but there's business cases for other sides of it, for other use of it, and it's just getting the ability for people to be able to prepare these business cases and present it, because water in the dry times is such a resource. You can't just, although there's a spring in Raglan, you can't just pump it to your heart's content. So in time it'll just become even more of a resource. So that was the first one. There will be questions. We're just going to just plow through the second slide. Yeah, so this is just the project objectives. Just want to really stress how important this is for the project team. And we had some great feedback from Ngāti Mahanga in terms of some better framing for explaining iwi in the area. Hapu is really great for like defining boundaries and capturing the stories of an area more than a general term that was more in there, which I think was tanga te whenua or something like that. But so really happy for that. It just makes it more site specific. Yeah, so this is the next one. I kind of just wanted to put the slide in just to get old Dr. Barnsley up there, but it's like, this was the headlines in the Waikato Times, 1993, new disposal method. And it was the deep bore injection, and a conversation started back then, and it seemed, going through the vaults, it dried up a little bit. I wasn't sure where it got to, but I have a better idea now. And so some good sound bites received were, I don't think anyone is serious about deep wells. Another one, I also don't think option 7, deep bore injection, offers a solution for Raglan that is worth pursuing, etc. It's good that we're looking at it, just to present it. And then the last one is, the deep bore was refused last time. Yep, and this is the feedback we need, because it's with the decision-making time. It's like, do we proceed or don't we proceed? Have we got it right? And I have from the vaults again. I have found what happened with the where things went with deep bore investigation last time, and how come it didn't progress. I should have put a sticky note on it, but it's more a case of there was concern about bogging of the bore. Hapu highlighted concern with groundwater co-mixing. There was a remote chance of finding suitable rock layer for ground injection, and that's still the case here. If it was going to proceed, you'd have to do a test drill. You wouldn't do that if it was just so against, if no one was going to, if it wasn't even a realistic option. So the next steps here, I think, is just to register tonight's discussion on it. I've got a better idea of the history now. It was refused last time. It's good to revisit these things, because things have changed. Russell uses deep bore injection for their treated wastewater. I know Auckland Council, their stormwater is injected into the volcanic area. So it is a method. It is an option. But again, if it's so abhorrent to the community, there's not much there's not much traction with it. So, and then after that would be, so the next step would be a chance to have a technical discussion with a focus group, which has a hapu and key stakeholder voice, and that's just getting our experts to just cover any questions with it. And then we need to really report upwards on the next steps and really understanding the, if we're not going to investigate it for, that's cool. If the advice is to do it, then it has to be accompanied with knowledge of the challenges, and there'd be a lot of anxiety to even progress without the backing of the key stakeholders. Yep, so I'm going to pause for some questions. Shoot.
Right, so do you want to stop sharing your screen, Stephen, so I can see participants?
Okay, bear with. I'm having issues. I'm using 3 screens and I can't seem to do it. Can you just take sure this? Oh, here it is. Stop share.
There we go.
Yep.
All right. So we've had a couple of comments, I think, from Fred in particular along the way, and Gabrielle also. Does anyone want to speak to this or ask a question of Stephen? Gabriella.
Yep. Hi, Stephen. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello. I just would like to understand whether at this meeting tonight you would like to really understand if there are some of those short list options that the stakeholder group don't think that you should even proceed with any further. So it sounds like from what you've just said that you're hearing that the deep bore is not, no one's really going, yes, go for that. And yeah, I'm just wondering, is that important for you to hear that tonight, or is that one of the things you want?
Particularly for the deep bore investigation, because it's really on the cusp of where do we go from here for this one. I mean, because the next step would have to be some field investigation, which is expensive, and it's just to investigate if there is any fractured rock that would even be suitable for it. It may or may not. So that would be the key one, I guess, to progress things. In terms of the entire shortlist, I think that's the key one.
What about the long ocean outfall?
The long ocean outfall isn't on the list to take forward. We're still doing shortlisting for greater investigation and costing. The long ocean outfall, it just became for the feasibility of it is really questioned because of the energy of the sea out there, the past history of it breaking off, and the bedrock that would be needed to actually get it out there. The cost
so that's not even on the short list, you're saying? Yeah,
it's not on the short list.
Oh, sorry, should have known that. Sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but trying to be smart.
I think it is important. It is important to note, Stephen. Sorry, it is important to note to answer your sort of philosophical question, Gabrielle, that this is not a decision meeting tonight. This is still an information meeting along the way. But clearly, if there is a strong view, really, Stephen is sharing where he is on the journey, as I understand it, and some of these. Options are taking themselves off the table in the sense of technical issues and so on.
Yeah,
but community feedback is still important.
Yeah, but as I understand, the next step is to decide on the shortlist and then actually do some work to further investigate each of those options and get some costings. Is that right?
This is a draft shortlist. It does have to go back and get feedback. So we're 95% there by people having a chance to review it. Have we got it right? We didn't quite get it right with the emphasis on food production. Again, the statements on the deep bore investigation. Again, it was an unknown for us. It's better. I'm better we better understand now just from receiving that feedback, particularly from Hapu, which is saying it didn't get any traction last time, so and nothing has changed. So that's really useful. Again, it's reporting up to others as a project team. You say this is a large component on how we progress. The engagement is 50% of the project now, and if it's not going to get any traction, then you say you've got an uphill battle.
Ian, do you have a comment in terms of process at this point? Just thought I'd throw you under the bus there.
No, I think it's the journey, as you mentioned, Axel. It's just taking people and building that knowledge, isn't it? That's my perspective. Is that fair from everyone's perspective? It's just steadily fine-tuning as we go. The deep bore, for example, seems to be a no-go. That's something we're taking clear direction on, and we take another micro step forward to get to November.
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Well,
sorry. Oh, sorry. Can I just say something, Axel?
Yes.
Just from my point of view, that sounds great. Like, it seems like it's really important that it is that sort of learning, and that it is a kind of slow process. But there's part of me that just goes like, that's great, but alongside that, we need to know what the dates are and what dates you're working to, so that we can make sure we're doing what we need to do. It's otherwise it feels like we're just following your steps, like, oh, okay, we'll just follow your step. Doesn't feel like, well, from my point of view, it's okay, but we need to know more, just clearer, like, when are you going to make the decision about the shortlist? What do you need from us? You know, it just still doesn't feel sort of, there's something missing for me, but anyway.
Okay, I'm sure Stephen will take that on board, and I think, well, there is a timeline. You referred to that, Stephen, in one of your documents, at least, in terms of what the dates that you are working to. I think it came through the frequently asked questions list. There was a reference to that, but it might be useful to pull that out as a separate item, just for clarity. Okay, Stephen, do you want to carry on?
Okay. So this, get rid of old Dr. Bardsley, and this was the second part of my presentation. It's sort of
you just need to turn on the share screen again, Stephen.
Oh, oopsies. Bear with. Have we got success? You see my screen? Cool. Yeah, so this is the crunchy stuff, and this is my 101 on where we're going with thinking about budgeting, decision making, and getting and how all councils need to consider paying for infrastructure upgrades, etc. So I can go over this once, twice, as many times as we need to, but I'll start now just by going through some key documents. So the first one is an asset management plan, and all council owning infrastructure owning departments produce asset management plans. It's part of the Local Government Act Amendment 2014. It's parks do it, libraries need to get it done. It's just a case of a longer term planning tool to think about up to 50 years of spending that you have to have for the level of service provided. So we're in the process of doing this now. I do it every three years. The next step from here, it gets audited by Audit NZ. And there's other discussions needed with business managers, with councils to go through each line. So the financial side of it does get that scrutiny and explanation. They do it every 3 years to align with the council LTP. So a key concept here is with 50 years of planning, you do put placemaker that you're not quite sure of the accurate cost, but at least you put a chunk and recognise that consent is ending XXX date, start thinking about how it's going to get paid for. The Local Government Act is, I mean, the long-term plans are part of the Local Government Act, and it's focused 10-year planning. It's done every 3 years, and this is a really important council tool, and it is this is an LTP year, and community consultation occurs as part of this, and there's an LTP team that puts this together. So with the model that we have at Waikato District Council for considering how money gets divided, in particular looking at the wastewater treatment operation and the renewal maintenance, is that there's a unified rate which filters down from the long-term plan. So the long-term plan helps establish council charges like rates and also development contributions. It's a accounting balancing act. It's hard work, but and to date, with wastewater treatment, there's a unified district rate that users pay. It's all considered together. There's a single wastewater charge for each ratepayer. So with the LTP process, this is the budgeting, decision making, and workshops are held prior with councillors, and this is where it gets complicated, and it's a balancing of business needs, areas, incomes, and they have to think about how is income done with the council. It's through rates and loans. So there is questions come through from the AMP saying why do we need to do this, and that's when the business managers say you need to do it for this reason, and if you don't do it, you're going to get a lesser level of service. That's just how it's worked through. So when I look at specifically at the Raglan application process, as I said, we're doing the AMP now. We've updated the costing that was originally in it from 2014. 2014 is where the $15 million came from that we've talked about over again. It's more that was just something had to go in there that was a workshop outcome, so that sort of stayed there. We're now moved further in this project that we know actual costs, and one that we do have costing data on is a 2019 option, which was the summer irrigation in Raglan to up in Mangatawhiri Road. So that's the cost of doing this type of methodology for discharge, and the treatment was just with UV and the ponds. Yeah, so that's a good starting point. Even if, as I said, it was for summer irrigation, so it would still be a winter, so it wouldn't even there'd still be the winter flow. So we weren't even sure that was going to be the best practical option, but it's what we have a figure to defend. So the next step for this project is the multi-criteria analysis, which is where we're heading into now. We'll calculate costing options and be presented and will be presented and we'll drill down to the best practical option. So part of that is for me and the team to start socializing this with the Water Governance Board and with ELT and think about how is it, what's the roadmap to affordability here, and that's where we lean on the resources like finance managers, etc., just to figure it out. In the past, I know that when Carl was the waters manager, there was a discussion about the option of a targeted rate tool. So this is something that doesn't occur at the district council presently, but it would be like plan B if it was this, if costs were if it became difficult to do it under the district unified rate, where the entire entire ratepayer base needs to contribute. So one of the queries from Gabrielle is, who makes the final decision with what goes forward? And it is ultimately it is the elected members that receive the recommendation, but this is done with so much scrutiny through both the Water Governance Board and the executive leadership team at the Waikato District. And it's a highly analysed option. There's opportunity for review. There's budget for the Water Governance Board to seek a review. So the elected members receive a very you'd hope that there'd be great confidence in what was presented and investigated. So that's my 101. Happy to go over this individually or do it again another time. But there's other people here that can talk more about it as well. So I'm going to just stop my share and hand it over to the chair.
Right. So thank you, Stephen. Much more of a general principles, I suppose, some of which will be familiar to people here, or some of you may not. So it's really talking about, I guess, the process by which the money finds its way to a solution that comes through this technical and community consultative process. Ian, did you have any comments at this stage?
No, I think it's just, as Stephen's putting forward there, the historic numbers were numbers that were put in at the time with the knowledge that was available. And as we progress through time with clarity, we get refined budget numbers. That's one of the important principles. So when we're short, that's the reasoning.
From the floor, any questions or comments?
So just a thought, Stephen, is it worth just sharing how the process happened with regards, we've got people talking about traffic light colours and how the selection process and who was involved in those workshops, so that it's not just some arbitrary decision where we've just, pinned the tail on a donkey. There's actually people choosing and discussing and technical experts. So there is an element of fine tuning this. It's not just us coming up with some ideas. Would you mind just sharing the list of people that are involved and the process that we've gone through, just to give some credit?
Yep. This is, I can't see I haven't been looking at the chat, but just a description of this first phase of refinement. Sure, you need to get something for people, for everyone to react to it. You have to start somewhere. So that's what we needed to do with, and this is what Watercare do with every project. It's the long list, getting every mix and match together, refining it down to a workable number where you can actually drill down and do some real work. So the sheets that were prepared are intended to be a library to allow to show the journey and what can be excluded, and the people that we lean on to do it as our experts alongside Watercare managers and project staff, and also WDC involvement along with some legal representation as well. The people that we have on board are PDP, who are doing our geotechnical analysis, and also Becca, who are our key project lead. So from Becca, there was we had several engineers and planners, and so we had a room full of really experienced people that this is their day job. Their day job is to prepare something that allows progression towards an application. This is the first stage of refinement. The next stage, it gets gnarly, and it's the multi-criteria analysis, and it's going to be, there really needs some really intensive engagement with all hapu key stakeholders for that one, because we're getting down to the pointy end of getting to a best practical option.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you, Gabrielle.
I'm aware all the time that I don't get into the technical detail like others do, so you have to excuse if I ask stupid questions, but I'm all kind of focusing on the process and things, I suppose.
Gabrielle, you're doing your best. That's all we can ask for.
No, I'm just sort of like aware, like, oh my God, this could be so bad. But anyway, but would it be, I don't know, I wonder if this is what people are asking, or let's say John specifically, because it's in the chat. I think maybe what we're asking is, we had the long list and now we've got the short list, but how did something get from the long list to the short list? So I don't know if that's something that, but whether that's through an example or whether that's too hard for you to do, Stephen, on the spot because of the complexity of it. So, saying, okay, for irrigation to land or something, this was the long list and this is the short list now, or this is the one item that we're looking at there. And how did it get to that point that those other things were eliminated? Were they too... I don't know if that's what you're asking, John, so maybe I need to just stop talking now.
You can go on, you can ask John.
Yeah, well, I've just put another comment in saying, yeah, it's great having experts who know the answers to the things that have been tried and tested, but in this case, there's a few ideas coming in which are sort of left field, that they're not necessarily well known or accepted, and that might mean that they don't work, and that's why they're not well known and accepted, but it may also just mean that the traditional training that people have when they go through an engineering degree or whatever doesn't cover those things, and it may need other expertise from different disciplines to say, yeah, you can grow using this crop and it needs these nutrients and it needs this work. Okay,
yeah.
Could I make a suggestion that what we'll do, if we can, Stephen, if we could, just to give people clarity, we'll take away from this meeting is we will provide the process, as Gabrielle's asked for, the process of how we got through that long list to short list with the technical people that were involved, including, a brief paragraph on, what their expertise is to give confidence, so that we can see how we've moved from long list or create long list to short list, the people who've been involved and how that happened with the workshop process. And then if we could summarize that into a paper, would that give everybody the kind of roadmap and the confidence that we haven't just dropped these shortlists out of nothing? They've actually been through some sort of scrutiny. And if there isn't the scrutiny or engagement that people see, then we can come back and say, but what didn't we consider? And that might...
Yeah, there has to be something like, I mean, there is, we hope to capture everything, but there really has to, I mean, the key crunchy part is the winter flows. We have to get a solution that is year round. So the out of the box stuff and blue sky thinking is cool, and we hope to have captured that in the reuse side of things, because that is what we need to do to meet the objectives. But ultimately, we do have to get to a point where you can get a winter discharge. Summer, irrigation is okay in the summertime. Half of it evaporates before it hits the ground almost, but it's the winter time when there's water everywhere, the ground's wet. That's when water people have a lot of trouble with options, and they get narrowed down quick.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take away that we'll put the process and the people who've been involved so that everybody can understand that, and then maybe there's just the key constraints, which is around that summer winter element. So there's just 5 bullets on what the key drivers are in this this assessment that went on, and then from there, if I'm happy, at least they can say but if everybody does agree that that's a fine and endorsed process, you can move on. Does that sound like a reasonable approach, everyone? We'll put up that model, show you what's happened, and at least everybody's clear then, and we can move to the next stage. Clarity on the short. Yes.
Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, thanks for that, Ian. I'm hoping that's what we're asking for. It seems like it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense, but I kind of go, oh my God, and we're giving you guys like massive, like another project to do.
No.
But what I think would be great is where you've got real confidence in something to go, like you said, you know, winter flows or whatever, which are like almost where you have a lot of confidence, or where, like John was saying, yeah, you might have discarded something as an option, but you're not that confident because maybe you didn't have the expertise, or you didn't really look at it because it's a bit alternative, or maybe just to be really honest about that, so that, yeah.
I would envisage this being like 4 or 5 PowerPoint slides with some bullet points and a picture or two. It's just a very simplistic view of the world with enough detail that just gives clarity for process. So
Definitely.
that's the aim there.
And I think with Gabrielle's earlier point, that if there's some timelines that we could put in there as well, you know, for key decision points that are coming up through this process, that would also be a useful addition to that document.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, Chris, a comment before we move on?
Yeah, have
Welcome.
we, 5 minutes late, have we talked at any much about storage as opposed to alternative outfalls if we were to go to land-based irrigation?
No.
No, not at this time. Stephen, is
No.
that
So
something that you covered?
was Chris? Yeah, Chris. We just covered a couple of we just put a couple of discussion points out. But you're talking about storage that accompanies the non-deficit irrigation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yep. So that is in the shortlist, and that is a solution for. I mean, that is methodology that would counter winter flows, and I guess through this journey, through this corridor, we've talked about what you mean to do it. A dam, I don't know, we're talking about a gully system perhaps used for it. There's gullies that are really important ecological features, and there are others that are farming features. So that is methods that are used.
Where did you get the figure 150,000 cubic meters in the document that we looked
Comes from PDP, who's the technical director that's doing the geotechnical investigation for us. Using the figures for the life of the consent, which is you'd go for the longest term consent as a project methodology, so that's 35 years. So up to the growth figures to 2055.
So,
Yeah.
so for example, I just Googled last night when I was reading your document, how big is an Olympic-sized swimming pool, to try and understand what 150,000 cubic meters look like. And apparently your average Olympic swimming pool is 250,000 cubic meters. So we're not actually talking about as much storage as we may think. I don't know.
My brain only works in Fonterra milk tankers. You're gonna have to convert it.
So how many milk tankers was it?
Yeah. Cool, but that's facts. That's facts. It's written 150,000 liters of winter storage. So taking that forward, it's the technical focus group we're trying to get together for these discussions will be a great way to bring it up. You're just making a statement, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stephen, do you want to hop back into your presentation again, and we'll carry on with the flow?
Okay. Sorry, I'm having. It isn't working. I only had one extra slide anyway. It was just showing. It was just to highlight. It was just to end up with some nice photos, which no one can see. But it was just to highlight progression. So yesterday we were on site doing some ecological study. It's just part of what we're doing now, is following through, progressing those options to the next stage. So this will be part of the MBR fresh water recharge option for, and it wouldn't be a, it was just to understand the redirected stream, what it is, how you'd rank it in terms of health, and also considering nearby areas, like it wouldn't be a stream recharge would need polishing and using other gully systems to get to meet cultural needs of going through soils and roots. So that's all it was. It was an ecologist in waders in a stream. And sorry, I'm just having trouble with technical difficulties getting the PowerPoint up. That's it.
Okay. All right. So I guess the in terms of sharing where we're at, I think, Ian, your suggestion is a really positive one. To bring focus to what input we are seeking. And as I said in my starting comments, the work that's been done in response to Stephen making available the summary of options A through F, plus the comments to come, I'm sure, after this session will probably be the bulk of the engagement. But certainly there is, we've still got a quarter of an hour left to, if there's any other questions or comments that people would like to throw at Stephen or Richard's gotten off very lightly so far. He's just sitting there very quietly, but I'm sure he's also available to make comment if he should wish. So I'll open the floor up. Anybody wishing to make comment or ask a question? Just give me a wave if, oh, yeah, there we go. Where you go, John?
Yeah, well, following up really on Chris's question, so how many milk tankers can we fit in a reasonable sized dam that might go in one or more of these catchments and be an acceptable, maybe in addition to wildlife, maybe even a wetland go with it, whatever. So I'm still not clear on that as to how feasible it is to use winter storage.
You just want to get a concept of scale. Okay, we can do that. I'll check and find the answer for you.
I think, Stephen, wasn't it in your presentation last time?
Yeah.
You had a picture of a
okay, so you want to know what is in a. I'd have to go back and figure out and get the detail of the volumes in a tanker. I just don't have it at the moment.
All right.
Yeah.
Dennis.
I think last time,
oh,
Steve, is what Chris looking for a more a sort of example of where we'd put this, or are you just looking for what an Olympic-sized pool would look like, plonked somewhere, or because we haven't got into the detail yet, Stephen, of actually finding a site for our storage, have we? We haven't got
no, we're still theoretical that this is we're working we're working alongside property owners. Have been great, just even have just for knowledge building, etc. We'd like to know more, because this is the hard part of it. It's just saying, yep, and on paper it's easy, but when you start actually finding land, it gets very tricky. So if you'd want to have an example, there isn't one that I can just that can just show what it looked like that I have, or where it could fit in Raglan. There's no identified areas for it.
I think
Dennis.
Becca did give us an example of another site
sorry.
that had been done though.
The example that I've seen in the past is in Mangawai Heads, where they have a similar one, and it's a, if you do a Google on it, you can see the size of their pond. I'm not sure the capacity of it, but Chris is just saying that the documentation says that the 150,000 volume is what is estimated for the Raglan flow scenario.
Yeah, Axel, I was just going to ask at what stage, or these two questions, what stage are we going to get some indicative costings against each of the 5 or 6 options that we end up looking at? Because it'd be good to, from a public's point of view, to actually have an idea of what it's going to be. And also then the question comes, is that going to be a target rate or what is it going to be? How's it going to be funded?
Those are the key queries, and that's the benefit of drilling down to a workable number of options, because costing is a big exercise in itself. That's within the next phase now. Once we get past just get finalisation of the shortlist, everyone, and then we're progressing now to do the costing of it. So that's in the package of works next. So in terms of a date, we're still working toward a November application date, so it'll be within the next 3 months. The targeted rate, that's another job for this project team, and it was hopefully the presentation just said that there's now a socialization of the AMP or the price we do have, which was the 2019 worked example, that it was at least double of what was put in 2014. It's just presenting, so it's not just creeping up on people, and it's like it's a red flag in a no surprise manner. Once that has happened, then it's easier to get into the work of how these are affordable.
Thank you. I'll go to you, Chris.
There's been a few noises coming out of Wellington as well from different sides of the political spectrum about that water issues for councils is something that Central is going to have to look at putting money to, especially obviously post-COVID and et cetera, et cetera. So, and like we've already seen pretty successful applicant for our 2.5 million for the wharf. And is it something that we should kind of keep abreast of? And the other point I wanted to make was there is a pretty damn good, great flat spot right next to a massive cell phone tower on top of a hill with lots of land flowing down from it, if you're looking for spots.
Okay, thank you. Ian, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just in terms of the potential for funding from government, the Water Governance Board were due to have the Minister for Local Government ahead of COVID and talk to her about the pressures and these needs in our communities across the 3 key ones of Takofata, Mary and Raglan in terms of the wastewater treatment plants. That was cancelled. I think she went into isolation or something around the start of COVID. It's still on the agenda of the governance board to dial into Wellington and try to lobby for access to any funding that would be placed available. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Chris, and it certainly is very much a focus of the governance board. So just be assured that is, front of mind for us.
All right, Fred, I'm not sure what withdraw means. Did you still want to speak? I'll unmute you if you like.
Sorry, Axel. No, it's moved on. I'm going to have a crack at questions later on, so I'll just let the other community members have a go. Thanks, Axel.
Yep, thanks, Fred. Right. So I'm just seeing some little bit of traffic on the side here too. Have we addressed, John, your comments here in the discussion, or you're referring us to a Kaipara example? Kaipara is not a shining example from a local government point of view, I'd have to say, in regards to the money, but that's another matter.
It was an example that Stephen mentioned, so I just looked it up, and that's what I found initially, which still doesn't tell me how big the dam is. It's 10 kilometres away from their sewage treatment plant, but it doesn't say how big it is. And I agree with Chris that there is a good storage place up near the cell phone towers. There's a big valley up there, and it's only just up from the sewage works. So it could be that those dams up there could be enlarged because there are already some dams up there. Thank you.
I think from in local government terms, speaking about dollars rather than sewage, Kaipara is a lesson that's remembered by all. And as you'd be well aware, they stretched to cope for a community that they thought would come, that then with the GFC didn't come, and in the end the council itself went broke, and left ratepayers with a burden that just couldn't hope to repay. So great deal of care has to be taken around getting these things right, but future proof but not overstretched. Right, so Gabrielle, to you.
Thank you. So one thing I think, Steve, that you maybe wanted to just bring up in this meeting was the idea of a bit more of a technical forum from the stakeholder group. I'm not saying that we're not it and that we're not technical, but it sounded like there might have been some interest or some value. I'm very aware that there's conversations happening, with hapu and other, harbour care and things separate, and of course that's going to happen, and I'm aware of those, but it sounded like that there may be some value in that. Do you want to talk about that at all, or?
Yep.
Yeah.
So just following on from last year, I got some really good advice from the general manager of service delivery. It was Roger, saying that the big message here is just more engaged or constant engagement. So I started that. Just wanted to start that and just sort of ask for help from John and Malibu, just to start the discussion. And they were real generous with their time, and we were able to meet a couple of times, and it was just to form some rapport. That the hope, my hope anyway, was even to grow it a bit larger, just to have the ability to really to cater for all levels of people that wanted to engage in this project. Some are just and we're just happy for any participation, but are really just wanting to keep abreast of what's happening. Others are really gonna challenge us and look at everything, and that's cool as well. So that was the thought there, was to be able to have a manageable group to really to have technical discussions with our experts. The days of rolling out the Garretts, etc., in front of the thing, it didn't work for anyone really, because he just got a hiding, and it wasn't fair. The water care and WDC have to own these meetings and show that we want to engage effectively with the community. This was just another part of it. So at the moment, expanding is what I've talked to you about it, and there's been some discussion within the Raglan Community Board about again other owners for this progress, and Chris has raised his hand to help with that. So the next step from beyond is to have more frequent technical groups, a technical group of a small manageable group. So at the moment we're thinking hopefully Malibu, John, yourself, and Tony and Chris, we could meet more frequently. It's my day job. I need to do it, and we rely on the generosity of everyone to join. So it might just help the project. Is that the sort of thing is that the sort of soundbite you wanted to explain it?
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool, Steve. So I think, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm a great person to be on the technical group, but thanks for that, because I'm probably more interested in just kind of the general process and how that's going. But I think it would be really great to have a couple of people from the community board, like Chris and Tony, and you've been already meeting, with John and Malibu. It seems like they're good people to have as well. So yeah, I think to me, it just needs to be, well, ideally, it would be an invitation out to the stakeholder group to say, this is an intention, this is the reason to do it. It's a bit different than these, if that's what you're wanting. I wonder whether that could be happening in these meetings? Like, it feels like it's almost a double up. Like, do you really, like, so I don't know. It's just, it seems that there are some people who want to get into more detail, and I just wonder whether this really happens in these meetings. Ian, you look like you want to say something, so I'll stop.
Well, no. I was just wondering, just to complement that, is that if we have, we put together this PowerPoint with the people, the process, and the long to short list, will it give people confidence such that they won't need that additional forum? They will be confident that, oh, okay, there's just the odd check and balance to be had on the way. I just wonder if that might help, and we maybe revisit this after everybody's clear on that. Just a thought. I don't have it's not a...
It might be that along with the new FAQ document, which I can see like a lot of, so it's almost like, I suppose, if all the questions are coming through from wherever, whether it's from me collating them or through Harbour Care or anywhere, and those questions that can be made public are kept updated on that FAQ, that seems like a really good place to, that seems like a really good progress to me. Whether along with that document you're talking about, Ian, whether that then, you know, the questions become less because they're being answered, I don't know. I think that's probably up to the technical people to answer that, not for me.
Yeah. Well, perhaps we use, I mean, this is iterative as we go, so maybe we do that and just see how everyone feels through that process. By the next meeting, people say, oh no, I'm still not happy with the technical input or those experts. Hopefully through the FAQ process, we'll have tested a few more things, and, you know, it's a bit heuristic. We're learning on the way, so I don't know.
Yep. And so I appreciate those comments. And Gabrielle, as you know, I mean, not only doing this via Zoom is new for us, but actually this whole way of you know, consulting through this process is quite different to what's been done in the past, and will hopefully yield a different outcome as well. But we are finding our way and finding our feet. So yeah, let's try and do that as we go. All right, I've got time for a last question. Just before I go to you, Kieran, can I just ask, we've got two people dialing in, an 022 number and a 027. Can I just ask them to identify themselves just for the minutes that we'll keep? If they could come, I'll unmute. If you could just say your name, please. So we've got two people on the phone, 022 0719 454 and 027 number.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, you can hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Oh, Maiaha Kelly.
Thanks very much.
And in the true spirit of transparency, don't you think it'd be great to know what the hapu's thoughts are, just in the true spirit of transparency?
Yep. So we have, hapu, we have definitely looking to keep hapu and abreast of everything. And we have some good links at the moment with occurring. We have Gabrielle and Heather are friends and friends of hapu. So that is another thing. I talked to Ngāti Mahanga easily. I can ring Heather anytime. Do the same with Tainui. And again, Malibu is I know he's Kawhia Waka, but he's still very, very close to that hapu and goings-ons. And again, I can talk to Angeline anytime when we text and message often. So that connection definitely is happening. It's a different process to key stakeholder, and it's a statutory process as well. But they're definitely not out of the loop.
Yep, I just think as a community, as a whole, it'd be kind of great, you know, if all the cards were on the table, you know, so we're kind of, so we know what they're thinking, and you know, and we could maybe share our thoughts and beliefs with them, and vice versa.
Yep. The key, like in the sheets, I hope that it was although the thing, the cultural column was blank, we know the position, and we've Huppery's position, and everyone knows it. It hasn't changed. It's red for
What?
it's red for marine discharge, and green for non-marine and reuse.
Okay, thank you.
Maya, can I just ask a question? It's Gabriel.
Yeah.
Are you still
hi,
there?
Gabriel.
Yeah, kia ora.
Yep.
Have you got any thoughts about how you think that could happen? Like what you're suggesting? Because I hear what you're saying, I think, and I just have you got any thoughts about, you're quite with the process and how, there's the separate engagement with Hapu and things, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, it's for the Raglan community, so I think it's really important that every part of the Raglan community share their thoughts instead of one group having a separate meeting and the rest of the community not quite clear on what their thoughts are on various. So I'm not too sure, but I just think it's really important that the Raglan community, I think, are transparent and make their thoughts clear, and because it's for the well-being of this community.
Yeah, maybe I could I'm happy to give you a call, Maho, about that and just have a chat, maybe outside the meeting.
Cool. Okay, Gabriel, thank you.
Thank you. All right, thank you for waiting very patiently, Karen. I'll come to you now. Last question for tonight.
Cool, thank you.
Hey.
Can you hear me?
Yep, indeed. Where you go?
Oh, cool. Kia ora, everybody. Firstly, just thank you for the opportunity to sit in on this meeting. I think this has been one of the positive things of COVID. We're able to come into these kind of meetings and when we're not able to be together. So it's been great having listened to this. So I saw this on Facebook, and it was under the title of a Raglan discharge, wastewater discharge consent. So I was keen to sort of, get my head around what this is about. Totally confident in Auntie Heather and Auntie Ange and the mahi that they do for the hapu. But yes, so I'm Kieran. I'm one of the trustees of Te Kopua 2B3 Incorporation at the end of Rerea Kiriopa Memorial Drive. And as you know, we know where that water discharge is out through. So am I right in terms of the consent that you're going for is about looking at a land-based system and not continuing to use that discharge out to the ocean? Because that would be great. I just wanted to clarify that. I've also seen, I think Teresa, a couple of messages about getting a copy of this presentation and the FAQs that you talked about, and any correspondence that comes out of this meeting. So yeah, hope that's not too left field for the last question of the night. Happy to talk about this offline as well, if that's cool.
Kia ora, thanks very much. I really appreciate that. And I will, Fred, I will give you the opportunity, if you can be short, sharp, and insightful, as I know you can be, to just conscious that we've gone over time already.
I'll give it a go, Axel. Yeah, I guess just as regional councillor, we'll throw that spin in. Not that I'm representing regional councillor in this process, as I will have been barred from that process as being involved. So just want everyone to know that everyone's sort of concerned about what everybody else is up to. And it is actually the regional council's role to make sure that all of those players or the cards are actually accounted for in the deck by regional council when issuing a consent. So, you know, it's I guess it's great for everyone to know what everybody's thinking. But yeah, look, it's I'm a little bit tongue twisted too on how to get that out there. I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
All right. No, thank you very much. Appreciate that that comment. All right, Ian, do you want to close us out? Stephen, if I don't get another chance to speak, then with our thanks. But Ian, would you like to close us out with some comments?
Yeah, just thank you very much for everyone's attendance. You know, as mentioned, this is we are in this Zoom world. I actually really quite enjoy these. It's quite good to hear everybody's piece. See the questions flowing in, so that's really good. The iterations, we're steadily getting to those workable options. It is that iterative process. We will get to the costings in time. Ahead of that, we'll share that people and process, those slides and how we got to the long and short list, add those timelines as Axel suggested with regards to that future, give that transparency and keep us on track towards that November application target, just to make sure that we're being as sensible and as speedy as possible to get to the best solution as soon as we can for the community in this long running thing. So yeah, thank you very much everyone for your time, and we look forward to catching up again in the near future.
All right, thank you everyone. And as I said, we have captured all the chats. So even Gabriel, your last comment there, even if we haven't fully got to all questions, Stephen, as you know, has undertaken to get back to everyone and review the chat afterwards. We save the chat, and that's there for him to come back to. So thank you again, everyone, for the manner in which we've conducted tonight. A lot of technical detail in the options, and I guess just another insight into the process that we're playing out in full view, so that everyone's got an opportunity to see as we go step by step. Thanks very much, everyone. We'll end the meeting there.
Kia ora.